Okay, why the fuck do we have weebs in the chat? Come on. What the fuck are you doing? Weebs.
Get out.
Weebs.
Get out of here.
Out. Weebs out. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Out, weebs. Get out.
Oh man, good times. So, Nevadatan, tragedy turned meme by Reignbot. Make sure you guys like and sub to the original channel. Uploader, don't worry about my channel. I'm gonna turn up the video, but it looks a bit quiet.
Children are the very definition of innocence, and it's hard to imagine them being capable of anything remotely close to what adults describe as evil. Even suggesting that a child could do something intentionally malicious is bound to ruffle up some feathers, but if we dig deep enough, there exist tales that paint a much different
kids are
picture.
pretty evil.
One of the most
you're...
notorious examples of this centers around a 10-year-old girl named Mary Bell. Back in the 60s, Mary strangled 2 toddlers to death on 2
Georgie, thank you for the
separate
follow.
occasions.
I'm not going to open the chest
And in
yet.
case you were
let it
wondering
build up a
if
bit.
there maybe was some kind of misunderstanding, there was not. After murdering her second victim, Mary later returned to mutilate his corpse. But
What?
there's a good chance you probably already knew about this case. So today we're going to talk about a similar story that took place thousands of miles away and decades later. One that unfolded as the modern internet was forming, leading to a new kind of infamy for the person in question.
What on earth? Did I hear that right? And returned to mutilate the corpse?
When you hear the name Nagasaki, it's almost impossible to picture anything other than tragedy.
Oh god.
Just as the students were about to dig in, one of the 2 missing girls reappeared, but something was very, very wrong with her. She was covered with blood, and in her hand was an equally bloodied box cutter. The teacher feared the worst, that the little girl had taken the blade to herself, but that's when she said something that no one saw coming.
Well, why are you giving kids knives?
Blood. The little girl then pointed down the hallway.
What did she say? Sorry, I just talked over that. What did she say?
My blood. Bloodied box cutter. The teacher feared the worst, that the little girl had taken the blade to herself, but that's when she said something that no one saw coming. This isn't my blood. The little girl then pointed down the hallway, and that's when what had happened became clear. The other missing girl, 12-year-old Satomi Mitarai, was found face down in her own blood with a deep 4-inch gash on her neck, along with several other slashes on her arms and hands.
What the
By this point, the school staff were in a panicked frenzy, but unfortunately, there was nothing that they or the paramedics could do to save the young girl's life. Satomi bled to death right there on the floor of her very own school.
Kids, man.
Meanwhile, the girl responsible for her murder, now legally dubbed Girl A, was interviewed by police, put her hands over Satomi's eyes, and then drove the box cutter deep into her throat, causing her to flail before the attack continued.
Why?
To make things even more disturbing, Girl A
though?
didn't head to the classroom to alert her teacher immediately after this. In fact, there was actually about a 15-minute gap where Girl A simply stood there and watched Satomi bleed out. As it turns out, the 2 girls had a checkered past, and at the center of the conflict was the internet. According to Girl A, Satomi had made mean comments about her online and was a bit of a bully. At some point, for reasons that are ultimately unknown, Girl A snapped, and that's when she actually began to premeditate this murder.
Look, kids will be kids. They're going to be dumb and bully each other, but that's just part of being a kid.
12 years old, and it goes without saying that most childhood
parents, please monitor your kids when they're on the
do not
internet.
result in murder. Panicked parents tried to wrap their heads around why this happened, but finding out the answer proved to be infinitely complicated. Father, who was suspected of abuse, something that he denied multiple times when approached by local media. Still, this offers no real solutions, as most people who have experienced trauma
kids will make
don't end
spur
up
of the
turning
moment
into
really
killers.
dumb decisions and stick to them because they're kids, they're dumb.
During times of mourning, when
Don't
a
let your
clear
kids go on the
answer
internet
isn't
at
available,
such a young
we
age,
humans have a
unmonitored.
tendency to fall into moral panic, blaming any convenient scapegoat that we can for some temporary relief. But what stuck out the most was her interest in Battle Royale, which, if you're not aware, is a novel and film about a class forced to fight to the death until only one remains. Think Hunger Games, but from the 90s and rated R. The Nagasaki Shimbun reported just
That's
days
actually, I
after
heard
the
it's a good
murder
movie, by the way.
that Girl A was a fan of both the novel and film adaptation, and what really caught people's attention was the fact that in May of that year, the little girl even wrote Battle Royale fanfiction. The same article also mentions another bit of horror fiction found bookmarked on Girl A's computer.
When you have kids,
an internet
please
urban legend
monitor them.
called The Red Room. Now, I'm not going to go into full details about this, but if you want to know more about this specific topic, then I highly suggest this video by Nihongo Johnny. But anyway, the Red Room curse's ultimate consequence is that its victim would commit suicide, resulting in a room drenched in blood, hence a red room. Again, this is essentially just a creepypasta and was also adapted into a Flash game.
The reality of things.
All things considered, it's not really all that unusual that Girl A, who was already a fan of horror, would also be into something like this as well. Parents could blame whatever scapegoat they wanted, but that ultimately wouldn't help preventing anything like this from happening again. And in 2001, Japan lowered its age of criminal responsibility from 16 to 14. This following the 1997 beheading of a 10-year-old boy at the hands of a 14-year-old. The case of Girl A, now known as the Sasebo slashing, reignited the national dialogue, leading many to question if the legal age of criminal responsibility had to be lowered yet again, but that ultimately never happened. Class photos featuring both Girl A and Satomi were leaked online, and in them, Girl A was usually seen wearing this hoodie, one from the University of Nevada in the US. It's unclear what connection Girl A had to the university, if any, but nonetheless, it became part of her user-generated online persona, and while her real name had been leaked online, she would instead be dubbed Nevadatan by users all over the world. Nevada, obviously due to her hoodie, and Tan, a baby talk version of the Chan honorific suffix. Soon enough, Nevadatan became a full-blown early meme, complete with fan art and cosplay, many finding something humorous about the idea that such a small girl was capable of doing something so
That's not humorous at all, dude.
And in case you had any doubts about how widespread this was at the time, the University of Nevada had to stop selling the hoodies Girl A was wearing after they became their best-selling item, obviously for all the wrong reasons. Nevadatan was dubbed the, quote, cutest killer in Japan, and if you watched my last Stories from Our Disturbing World video, then you'll recall a similar instance where a girl who tried to kill her boyfriend went viral and was dubbed the, quote, most beautiful killer. In both cases, it's practically impossible to tell what's trolling and what's genuine admiration, and while that may be confusing to a lot of people, you could also argue that it isn't exactly surprising, given that it's the internet. It's not news to anyone that edgy humor, just for the sake of being edgy, is kind of a hallmark of the online world. Still, these online users, of course, are pretty far removed from the reality of what happened, and anyone living in Sasebo City would probably feel a lot different about it. In fact, the incident has had lasting effects on the area, and especially the campus where the murders took place. In the end, it may be a tough pill to swallow, but there is no guaranteed way to predict these things, no way to prevent tragedy from striking, and for many, that very fact alone is paralyzing. In 2008, Girl A, or by that point Nevadatan, was released and rejoined the general population with a new name and presumably a new path in life. As for where she is now, no one really knows, but one can only hope that she never hurts anyone else ever again.
And,
Today's video would not have been possible without the help of every single one of my supporters on Patreon. but especially
I want to emphasize how important it is for parents to actually speak to their kids and level with the kids. Don't approach your kids from, and like, it's important to make sure that the kids understand that you're an authority, but also don't let that be the only facet that they ever see from you as a parent. I feel like it's extremely important to be friends with your kid, right? Because kids, they go through stuff all the time in school, bullying, you know, poor grades and whatnot. And why do you think they don't tell their parents? It's because they're afraid of their parents. You need to level with your kids. You need to make sure that they know that you're more than just a parent. You're a friend. That you're someone they can trust and they can talk to. It's because people, like, I don't want to completely blame the parents here, but you need to talk to your kids more from a more relatable stance. Make sure that they feel safe sharing with you and that you won't judge them, but only give them a good advice. Otherwise, things like this will happen. Man, that's so unfortunate. You really need to be a bigger part of your kid's life. Don't just assume that school will take care of them the entire time. Because, you know, kids on kids, things happen. They bully each other. They make dumb decisions. Damn, man. Damn. That's rough. That is so sad. Yeah. Sad and terrifying at the same time. Because kids, they don't understand. They can't grasp the concept of, you know, the consequences of their actions. They're just, this person's bullying me. I want it to stop. I hate this person. They're not thinking about how long they're going to prison or the consequences of taking a life. They don't think about those things. Probably not. They see it in movies and they think it's just like the movies. But no, real life is not like movies. Man. So sad. That was a good video though. Thank you for the recommendation. I forgot who recommended I watched this. Oh, Zenik. Hey, what's up, man? You came in just at the end of the video. Ah, man. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of these things can be, I don't want to say completely prevented, but can almost be avoided had they talked to the kid more to identify potential issues than just relying on the school system itself. I don't know, it's just messed up, dude. Now I feel all sad inside.